Hello, friends. Can you believe we are 9 days away from Christmas? Crazy, crazy. But I say that every year. I've learned to say, that old saying that time flies when you're having fun. I'm like, when you get older, it just flies. So you better have fun. Little nuance of that. But I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying warm. Hope you're staying safe. I hope you remember the reason for the season and that also in your hustle and bustle of parties, shopping, if that's not done. I hope you remember to pump the brakes, laugh, smile, serve, reflect, be grateful because this can get all crazy this time of year. And I also want to say to those that are watching that maybe you've lost a loved one this year and it's the first Christmas without that person. My heart really feels for you because it's not as joyful without those closest to you. So I'm thinking about you this time of year for sure. I'm excited to introduce you to our special guest today. I think you're going to find her witty, humorous, and warm. There's probably a plethora of other adjectives, but if I had to narrow it down to those three from my interactions with her, those would be the three. But I think you're going to love her for sure. And let me tell you a little bit more about her. Kim Boudreau Smith is a straight talk leadership and communication coach who helps high achieving women silence the imposter identity and lead with unmistakable presence. She equips healthcare leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs with the vocal authority, clarity, and confidence they need to influence at the highest levels. Based in Detroit, she works nationally with women ready to stop shrinking, own their brilliance, and lead with more of themselves. I love the straightforward bio. It fits your personality, Kim. I love what you're doing to help people. Kim, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thanks for having me, Steve. And if before I even allow you to be that host and jump in, those three words of the description of my character were big time compliments. So thank you.
They were definitely intended that way, so I'm glad they landed that way for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so for those that maybe don't know the geography of the U.S., because here's now this is true that there are people that are eventually going to watch this from Europe, South America, Asia, all over the world. So I know I said Detroit, but let people know exactly where Detroit is.
Well, it resides in the state of Michigan, where we are in the middle of I'm saying we're in the middle of winter. We haven't even gotten to the first day of winter, but we're in the middle of winter with very unseasonably, extremely cold temperatures and snow. Detroit to Michigan. I live in a suburb of Detroit, so this is Michigan, and it's the Midwest of the United States. And I don't want to rush time, but hurry up, April, spring.
Yeah, here in the States, it does appear that it's gotten colder with more snowfall and certainly your neck of the woods. For this time of year, it seems like we could be in for I'm hoping not to, but for a long winter
No,
for
let's hope
sure.
not. Let's hope not. I mean, it did start off pretty early this year, so let's hope it ends pretty early this year.
Yeah, and I know your goal is April, but I remember vividly 2018 or 19 in central Illinois, where we were at the time. I remember Easter was like April 21st, 22nd, and I went to church that morning. It was sunny. It was probably 35, 40, nothing awful for that time of year. Well, Yeah. Anyway, and then a snowstorm out of
Snowstorm.
nowhere, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's almost May. So
Yeah.
that happens in the Midwest too. Hopefully not this year, right?
Yeah, hopefully not this year. We've seen snowflakes on Mother's Day, here.
Uh,
And let's hopefully we will not have that in 2026. So, yes, it's always a topic of conversation in the Midwest is the weather in the winter time. It's just because it has been unseasonably cold and ice, freezing temperatures. We're talking ice. It's been very
mm,
cold and dangerous, very dangerous.
yeah, for sure. So has Detroit been home most of your life?
I born and raised here in a city called Royal Oak, which is another suburb of Detroit. So born and raised here, and up into this past year, my parents lived a few miles away. I lost my mom back in June, and she was the last of the parents between my husband and I. So we're orphans. We are declaring ourselves orphans.
I'm so sorry. You could certainly relate to what I was talking about or about Christmas
Yes.
time. So
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It,
difficult.
Yeah, experiencing a lot of losses this past year. Like I said, I don't want to rush time, but I am really looking forward to leaving 2025 behind and getting into 2026.
I can totally relate to that. I asked my congregation on Sunday, could you think of if you could think of your in your walk with the Lord, if I said, what was your best year or two, they probably come to your mind pretty quickly. And I said, but if I also, the flip side of that, if I ask you what the toughest year was, you probably even know that one quicker. And I raised my hand. I said 2025 without a doubt. And it seems like a lot of people have been in that boat this year.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that from a lot of people. I mean, it was tough. We experienced three losses all within 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah, it
It's a
was
lot.
in hindsight, Steve, and seriously, in hindsight, I sit here and I say this to you, and I think that really did not happen this year. That was a before life or something, but it happened this year because grief, I mean, I could just be sitting here at 5 a.m. in the morning drinking a cup of coffee and grief can come just trickle right on in. And it's like, oh yeah, that was only just a couple months ago. Got it. Got it.
And yeah, it's amazing how that works. We had a very traumatic thing happen earlier in the year. And I think for the most part, I'm not going to use that term over it, but I think for the most part, I'm in a better place with it.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily time heals all wounds. That's my perspective. I think it helps them along. I think it eases the intensity of the pain, but I've had times when I'm like, oh my gosh, this really is heavy. Or a memory comes up, and this person that I'm referring to is still alive. They're just not in our life consistently anymore. But it's just hard.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is hard dealing with. I'm seeing a very dear friend of mine whose husband passed away in the beginning of the year suddenly, and she's gone through all her first. I mean, she's got two beautiful grown young boys, young men, sons. But watching her navigate through all the firsts, the first holidays, the first grandchild, the first wedding anniversary without him. It's hard on people. I mean, and she's doing, I'm in full admiration. I mean, she's feeling the feels. She's really navigating things quite well, getting her life, to keep it so it's going. But, being able to pause and feel the feels when a memory or an emotion, comes up, or the memory comes up, which leads you to the emotion, or however that rolls. But yeah, yeah, time really does not heal all. We have to turn in and do the healing ourselves.
That's right. And yeah, and I could definitely roll with that for quite a while because with healing comes responsibility to help
Mhm.
others. And I think that I always say this in the most compassionate way for sure. Like what happened to you most of the time is not your fault,
Right.
but the healing is still your responsibility.
We were just having this conversation in a group call I was on earlier, is things don't happen to us. Things are happening for us. And our sensations and our emotions are our responsibility. It's when you're going through grief, those emotions are our responsibility. And you can't, trust me, I tried rushing through it earlier this year and I flatlined. I tried rushing through the grief. I thought I was the one that was in control of that when I needed to sit and feel the emotions and literally do nothing, but a lot of that stuff, those sensations, the emotions, the thoughts, that's our responsibility. But, it's everything else is not happening to us, it's happening for us, and it's part of life. It's a part of life. We are not here forever. We're out here on borrowed time. It's a part of life.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little bit about your family here in a second, but that phrase has stuck with me. It's happening for us.
Mhm.
I just heard that specific term, about 2 months ago. I was interviewing somebody right here, and they had just described horrific childhood sexual abuse that had happened to her as well as to one of her siblings. And I was trying to be compassionate, and I said something to the effect of, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And she corrected me, and I'm so glad she did because she said, no, it happened for me. And I
Yes.
said, okay, tell me more. And she said, well, because of the healing that God has taken me through, I am now able to share that with other people from stage, in books, in teachings and workshops. I never would have had that outlet if that wouldn't have happened. So, yes, it's awful that it did happen, but God used it for good and it happened for me. And I just love that. It's always stuck since.
I call that piece of healing is it's not a wide open gaping wound. That's scar. I
Yeah.
mean and we either arrive from that huge ginormous wound, that cut, and we either navigate through that healing process and get it to a scar. And when we have arrived to the scar, then we can share with others from a very empowering standpoint, not from a therapeutic, and trust me, there's nothing wrong with therapy, but not from a therapeutic victim standpoint where we're on a stage trying to share the story to help others and we're breaking down and we're crying and it becomes too therapeutic. I believe that we all have something to bring to the table. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why God created us. We are to serve forward and to remind the person sitting next to us, you are not alone because we are not alone. We are not, and we're not meant to be alone. We're like dogs. We're pack animals. We're meant to be around others. But in order for us to show up for others, we have to have arrived to a scar type standpoint so that we can share the story so other people can either learn, grow, whatever from that story.
Love it. And I I could talk all day about forgiveness and the role that plays, gratitude, the role that plays, and then the healing is intended for us to share, lead with vulnerability. But anyway, we got right in quick.
We did. We
But
did.
but let's go back to Michigan for a second. Tell
Yes.
tell us about your family and what do you guys like to do for fun?
Well, the current family, what we like to do for fun is we love to travel. We were just in Chicago. Who goes to Chicago in December, to have a fun weekend? I do, of course, because it was my birthday and it was freezing cold there. It was cold, and you've got the wind coming in from the lake. So we like to travel. We love trying different restaurants and going to, the theater and stuff, which is exactly what we did in Chicago. We love taking our once a year big trips, which is overseas into Europe. I personally love to get on the hiking boots or my running shoes, and I love getting outside. So this cold weather here in Michigan does not stop me. The only thing that stops me is the ice, but there is a little bit of ice on some of these sidewalks of people that did not get out and shovel from last week. So I got cleats on the bottom of my hiking boots.
Wow.
And so my dog and I, Luna and I, we are out. And if there's woods around, I am in heaven if I'm walking through woods. And fingers crossed that we could see some wildlife like deer or whatever. That is what I love to do, and my relationships are very important to me. So I love going out, meeting up with girlfriends and having dinner and a choice of beverage and things like that. Those are my favorite. And there's nothing like in the wintertime, the fireplace and a good old Netflix show too.
Yeah, matter of fact, you've got it on your calendar here in just a little while to hang out with the girls, right?
Yes, we're going to meet up here. As soon as everybody gets done with their day, we're going to be meeting up. And you can see I've got my warm fleece on, so I'm ready to go.
There you go. That's awesome. So I've learned in this entrepreneurial world that we're a part of that not too many folks dive right into the water in their youth. Usually they have a 9 to 5. Usually they have some kind of career that somewhere along the way became a bridge to their entrepreneur journey. Although I do know someone that as soon as they graduated high school, went into sales right away and was determined to be an entrepreneur and has never looked back. And
Wow.
he's in his late 60s now. So it does happen, but it's rare. Which is the case for you? Did you have a 9 to 5 or a corporate job of some kind that
Uh, Good.
tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that?
I had the corporate job because I was supposed to do. I come from a family that is uneducated and trade skills, never missed a day of work. And I still have that mentality. We just don't miss work. So learning as an entrepreneur how to balance that because all work, no play makes for a very boring Kim Boudreau Smith. But anyways, so yeah, I high school, college, and then went into corporate America. And this is back in the day. I'm going to date myself. This is back in the day before there were internets and websites and social media and all of that. My thing was is I stumbled into like a marketing type sales. Sales was always my background type of marketing. So I'd never sat in an office. I was always out and about on the road, and which that's when I realized fed my soul. And eventually I just didn't like all the stuff that was going down at that time in corporate and finally stepped away. I worked both and stepped away and started my first business. But because I was in corporate, out on the road, because if you're in outside sales and marketing, you're sitting behind a desk, you're not doing your job, gave me the taste of what freedom would look like.
Mhm. Yeah. So was that a scary jump or was it kind of natural?
No, I couldn't wait to get out. But for like about a year and a half, I did both. I would work the 9 to 5, and then in the evening and on the weekends, started the fitness business. And so it was the last straw that broke the camel's saddle or back or whatever the expression is when I went in and gave my notice at my current job. I'm the type of person when I get to a point, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not even thinking how are you going to pay the electric bill? How are you going to? I'm done, and I'm going to go because I always manage to land on my feet. I mean, you know, and so I just walked out. I gave them a 2 week notice, and at that time they were going whoa whoa whoa, and I'm like, there won't be any whoa whoa whoa, and if we keep whoa whoa whoa, I'll make 5 o'clock today the end of it because it was so I was down a C-suite hall with all men, and it was not fun back in that day. It was they hired me my last position because all the women in the organization were yelling and screaming there were no women in management.
Mm,
So I came to them with high recommendation. I was handed to them on a platter. And so that for a year and a half, I lived between a rock and a hard place. The women didn't want to have lunch with me, and the boys did not want to have lunch with me. So after a while, I just said, enough is enough. I'm going to go. I've got my business going. I'm going to go take the jump. I'm going to go take the leap.
Okay, so you make this massive leap. How many years ago was that? And did you say the business was a fitness business?
Mhm. That was my
So-
first business. Yeah. Yeah. That was over 25 years ago. As I clear my throat just having a birthday. That was a long time ago. That was about 29 years ago.
Okay, okay. So did you like the fitness industry?
Well, so the fitness industry, what I did back in the day was I live in a county called Oakland County. My fitness business was going into people's homes and training them in their home gyms. So I was inside of homes of very big names here in the area, very, very wealthy people. And you don't just walk into those homes. You have to be introduced and escorted into them. So I did that. I did some training at the local gym where I worked out all the time because there were women that were coming to me going, I like the way you work out and I want you to train me. So it was an organic thing. And then when I was in these monstrosity, beautiful, beautiful homes, I'm thinking, there's other women out there that can't afford Kim come knocking on their door like this. So I developed a beginning to strength training for women only, and I marketed it through community education. I had to bring on 9 independent contractors to help me run all the classes. I mean,
Hmm.
it just went, and we went from a beginning to an advanced. There's an 8-track tape floating around somewhere here in my house because we did an in-home video so the women could go home and take what they were learning and implement on their own as well.
Oh my goodness, wow. So how long did you do this?
A very, very, very long time. And then eventually, after doing all of that, then I was contracted into like local, so put this in perspective, local racquetball places, even the timing, right?
Yep.
Racquetball places that were opening up tennis and racquetball courts, and they would have the aerobic and the fitness piece to it all. They would contract me to come in to get the aerobic program up and out the door because I'm an ex high impact aerobic instructor and also partner in the fitness area to help that get up out the door. But the main focus was when people would contract me in for that was the aerobics, making sure they had the right equipment, I would hire the teachers, I would train them to get their fitness class program going.
Okay, fascinating. So is there a go-between fitness and healthcare? Did you do something different, or was there a connection that kind of served as the bridge between the two?
Well, gosh, Steve, you just made the connection. Oh my God. On your show, you just gave me the aha moment here. I didn't even realize that from all those years of my fitness and then really mainly focusing in the healthcare ecosystem. Did not see that connection, but there's been a big gap though in between. I didn't just go from one over into the other. Yes.
Okay, so what was the in between?
Oh my gosh. So eventually, our society started coming out with computers and internet and stuff. And I wanted to have an online business because my fitness business was all in person. I drove from house to house, all in person. And so I wanted an online business. So the first way to get online was I participated in anthologies. Women were heading up these books and bringing groups of women together to implement a chapter. So when I saw this one woman doing it and I was in her book, I'm like, so how did you get to become so successful online? She goes, start with your thought leadership and lead a book. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I ended up leading 3 books. I ended up bringing multiple women together over 3 books. And then from there, I launched an internet radio station. I was one of the first women to pioneer an internet radio station. So the entrepreneur can come, have the live radio show. I had a whole team set up, have a VIP service We would record the shows so there was shelf life afterwards. They just had to go get their guests and do some marketing, and then we just did all the rest.
Okay, so you've dabbled your feet in quite a few ventures for sure.
I have.
And so that leads us to modern day. You are helping healthcare leaders. How did that come about?
Well, that kind of fell in my lap about a year and a half ago locally. The majority of my clients right now are female physicians, veterinarians, dentists, and trust me, I have a few male clients as well that are at senior VP C-suite level. And what I do with my current clients is I help a lot of these women erase that imposter so that they are speaking up and communicating more effectively on their terms. So, in other words, they are in a box of in this healthcare system. They're coming out of the box going into leaderships positions, which is requiring them to speak more, whether it's leading teams, speaking in front of boards, going up for president type positions, and they don't know how to show up and navigate that with a with effective communication, a very confident presence, and being able to walk out without leaving anything on the table.
Okay, so yeah, I can envision that. They've elevated in their role. It's going to require more high level speaking, probably more training, probably a lot more travel. I can see that. So where do you help them specifically? Is it in the mindset area or is it more narrowed down even than that?
That's the first place I always begin is in the mindset area. It's always in the mindset
Mhm.
area because again, we as women have been society has trained us not to ruffle feathers, do not speak up. And if you don't, you better be prepared if you are going to speak up because if you're not prepared, you could look uneducated. I can keep going, fill in the blanks of all of that. So what happens is either women miss opportunities and they'll play small and hold back or women will go in acting with masculine energy because we've watched men do it and hence it's not working for all the men right now. We've watched men do it, so we try to copy that in order to get into these other positions. So these women are looking robotic and they're coming across as fake and they're getting
Mhm.
bypassed. They're getting totally bypassed or they have not been bypassed. They have been placed into some amazing leadership roles and they're speaking more and the fear is holding them back. They can't get their teams to engage. They're not engaging. So I help with the communication because if there's any breakdown anywhere for anybody, whether it's an entrepreneur that owns a medical business or a veterinarian business or it's you're in a system organization, any breakdown comes with communication.
For sure. What do you enjoy most about working with these women?
Watching they're already I want to clear the air right now. They're already confident, watching them become more confident and going in after what they want, no matter what the outcome is, going in after what they want. Because when they start doing things like that, people start sitting up and going, oh, I did not know you wanted that president position. We're sorry that you didn't get it this time. You did a great job. We're going to ask you to run for it next time. And what would happen if they didn't? Nobody would know that they would want that.
That's good. I'm wondering if it happens from time to time where the clients you're coaching get frustrated with the political system behind corporate because it is there alive and well today in 2025 and they want to do what you're doing.
I don't, something, I don't really get deep into those type of conversations with clients. I mean, I know it's there. I mean, I
Yeah.
hear it from them, but it's that conversation is kibosh because I want to stay more focused on them and making sure that they're achieving what they want for their leadership.
That makes sense. So what you're saying is you haven't had a client yet say my goals, when you're sitting down with them developing those goals and action steps and timelines and accountability, all that goes with coaching. You haven't had someone say, I'm done with this.
No, no. What I've no, 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 no. What I've had to do though is, for an example, I had a client recently. We've got her all prepped to go in front of to run for this president position, and it was for a medical group, and this was her second time around. So 2 years ago she did it, and she got up. It was her and a gentleman. The gentleman got it. So now she went through it again
Mm.
this past fall, and I know. I can lay my life down the line. I know she completely shifted. The talk was amazing. I know that she landed it and she still did not get it. But what women do in leadership like this is now my tough conversation needs to be, the hug, I'm sorry, because it really knocked her down. And then I have to put her out at arm's length and go, you're in the wrong room, sister. They don't see you in that position. It's been twice now. You've been on the board. They know what you're capable of. They don't see you. We need to come over here to another room where people are going to be going, oh my gosh, we've been waiting for you. We cannot wait to utilize all your talent. Please come on in. But it's hard for women to let that go. So, what I see happens after a situation like that is they'll literally run out my front door and they're going to go talk to a higher up and go, what more committees can I be on? Performance improving. And what that does, we women think that's going to make us get to those positions and sit next to the men. But what it does is dilutes our brilliance because we're still trying to prove that we are made for that position when that whole room was never designed for us. So it's getting some of these women not to say, well, I quit, because a lot of these women they won't leave the organization, so they won't close the business down. It's getting them to, okay, can we turn right today instead of keep going left down this road? That's the biggest thing for these women.
That makes total sense. So I'm not trying to be the typical guy here, but I'm gonna equate it. We'll use your Detroit Lions for a second.
Yeah.
Right now, Dan Campbell is in a honeymoon period because they're having unprecedented success,
Yes.
sustained for 3 years in a row. Okay. And there'll come a point, it's guaranteed, there'll come a point where Dan Campbell will run his course in Detroit.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean Dan Campbell is not a good, effective coach anymore. He didn't suddenly forget how to coach. He needs a new, he needs a fresh change of scenery.
Yeah.
I hear
Yeah.
you kind of saying the same thing, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. And let's hope that doesn't happen with Dan Campbell. We all like him here. We really do. He's
He's
great.
honeymoon phase.
But he's great. He's a good coach. I mean, and this year, I mean, speaking of sports, I mean, I am not a big Lions person, so I only hear what my husband says. I mean, we've got a few new players. We got a couple players that are out on injury, and we're still being able to pull it. So I think there's a lot there with Dan Campbell, but it's the same thing with these women. Stop trying to stay in these rooms that were not designed for us. Let's go discover the rooms. And I'm not saying you have to go create the room, because we don't always have to create the room. Is let's go discover the rooms, because the rooms are there. It could be something like, I don't know, women in family medicine. There's organizations for, or women in, holistic dentistry. Okay, can we find the rooms and then taste test it and see what's going on in there, as opposed to, I want to be the president of the medical system group, and they just are not. That's one of the hardest conversations I ever had. I mean, after this, my client got the news. I mean, I could tell how upset she was. And I was upset too, and it wasn't even me. And that was tough for me to say. They just don't see you that way. It's been 2 rounds now. They just don't see you that way.
No, that's hard.
And here's the other thing in positions like that. There's a voting mechanism going on. and watching these women run around having these conversations, trying to figure out if they're going to be, if this particular person is going to vote for them or not. I'm back here as the coach going, seriously? How about if we forget about all of that and let's go over here? But it's hard to get these women to let that go.
Oof, yeah, I can see the challenge in that.
Mm.
So most of the time, is the new room local, or are they going to have to go outside of Detroit to find the right room?
Oh, no, not necessarily. A lot of these people belong to organizations that are national, and
Hmm.
they have their yearly conferences, and then they have
Hmm.
their boards that where they're online and stuff like that. Yes, I mean I've got a
Yeah.
client right now who just stepped in. She just got elected for a president role for her field. It's women in her field of medicine. And one of her goals is to have more women in that industry that look like her. She's Muslim. So she wants more women that look like her coming up the ranks in this industry. Well, because she just stepped into this presidency role, she's got a lot of people asking for her to come and speak to their organization. She's off right after Christmas. She's off to Saudi Arabia to speak. So it's making sure getting her prepared for those rooms. And
Okay.
and just I'm just all we're doing, it's like the stairway. We're just keeping her climbing up.
Yeah. So what percentage of your clients are virtual?
Right now, gosh, that ebbs and flows. I think maybe 20% are virtual, 80% are right here in my backyard.
Okay. That's a blessing. I know a lot of number that's flip-flop for a lot of people.
Yes, and then earlier this year it was not like that. It all depends on who's in ebbs and flows and things like that.
Sure. So I'm curious, Kim. So you've owned businesses, you've worked for corporate America. It sounds like you really are passionate about what you're doing now. You're kind of in that sweet spot. Um, most entrepreneurs, most people just in general, whether they're an entrepreneur or not, have multiple seasons of feeling unworthy. Can you tell us about one particular time that led to those kind of feelings of unworthiness?
Well, yeah, there's been multiple times. There's been multiple times of not feeling worthy and wanting to crawl underneath my desk and say, "Forget it, I quit. Let's call it a day, and I don't need to be doing this, especially at this age." But there was a couple of times about 15 years ago, I fell asleep, and this is part of my story. I fell asleep at a major intersection right around the corner from my house. Eight lane road, 4 lanes south all the way downtown Detroit, 4 lanes north, all keep going out into the suburbs, keep going. Middle of the day, I didn't think I was tired. I was at a red light, and what woke me up is my head fell forward. And not only did my head fall completely forward to jerk me awake, I did it again within seconds. And
Goodness.
so I was a mile and a half from home. That was one of the most longest drives home with the windows down, air conditioning going, and Aerosmith blasting on my radio just to get home. And that was a game changer. And that was always because of my internal dialogue, thinking I was not good enough, and people did not see me, and people don't think about me. And so every morning I would wake up and I'm a morning person. I wish I could sleep past 5 o'clock. And if I do sleep past five, I'm like, woo, I slept in. But it was every morning I would wake up, and before I'd get out of bed, I would think, well, I wonder what my schedule's like today so I can hurry up and get through the day and come back to bed. So I
Mm.
talked myself and back into that sleep. And my husband would come in the house at the end of the day, and that's where he would find me sleeping. So that was a big turnaround point for me. I don't ever want to be in that rabbit hole again. I come close to the rabbit hole, but I know well enough when I'm getting close to that rabbit hole what tools I have in place to pull out so that my lack of worthiness, and I have them, are 5, 10, 15 minutes and not days and weeks and months and years on end.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I want to clarify. you had that happen where you nodded off at the wheel twice on the drive home, but you weren't hurt either time.
I didn't hurt anybody and I didn't hurt myself. Thank God. My foot stayed on the brake because if my foot would have came off, I would have been in the middle of the intersection.
So this was at two lights.
Yeah, and then there's Michigan turns that we have here. So I'm facing northbound, but in order to go west, I have to go through the light, do a turnaround, and face southbound in order to make a turn right. So I had to
Mm,
go through the light, turn around, face the light again, and then turn to start heading towards home.
wow. So what are you saying caused the exhaustion? Just not fulfilled in what you were doing?
Was not fulfilled. I was lacking passion, and it was my internal dialogue. I mean, so I have so many people that come to me and say, I want to be confident like you, Kim, or I want to have a bold, authentic voice like you. And I want to use the word authentic very, very lightly here because it's being thrown around, in my opinion, way too much. Listen,
Mm,
confidence, authenticity. I mean, I hear people all the time, 2026, I want to be more authentic. Well, being more authentic and being more confident is not like going over to the local mall and buying it. It's not. You just are. It's part of your DNA and it takes work. Some
mhm.
days my confidence is lower than others because maybe I didn't have a good enough sleep or I'm up and my inner critic dialogue, whom I call the hag in the attic, might be chirping a little louder than normal, can kind of set me off a little bit as well. It takes work. It's having tools. I have networks of people that I can call because I'm a vocal processor. People say, well, why don't you get a journal and write? And I'm like, oh, no, that doesn't work for me at all. I have to vocally process, so I make sure I have right people around me, the people I can trust. And then I have my tools. And it's like what I talked about earlier. One of my tools is I get my butt outside in that cold, especially when it's cold. Talk about carrying cobwebs out of your head.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah, I mean, that'll really set you on track. So it's those that was a lack of worthy, moment. Those little moments, like I said, can still pop up, but when I know those are popping up, first of all, I know they're not true. And I have one of my things is okay, hold on. What do I need right now? Because I'm starting to hear that inner critical dialogue. Our authentic voice is the voice that we talk nicely with compassion to ourselves.
So what would you attribute most to bringing you out of that season?
Well, when I got home, when I got home that day, I was driving my car was red. I remember getting out of the car going, oh, this car, like it's the car's fault. This car. Getting into the house and standing there and looking at my dogs and holding my purse and setting it down, going, whoa, if you don't change this now, Kim, you're not going to see 50. And I was looking forward to getting to 50. I was just right on the heels of 50. And so I surrendered to some very deep interpersonal development work. I was involved with a woman here locally, and she developed a 9 month journey called Changing Woman and loved it so much I became one of the co-facilitators. It was some deep, beautiful work to do. So that was a whole changing point for me. And the first thing that I did the next day was instead of waking up in the morning at 5 a.m. going, I wonder what my calendar is like so I can come back to bed, I opened up my eyes and went, wow, look at that drywall above my head. Pretty awesome. Since we built that, and aren't I lucky to have that, excuse me, over my head?
There it is, gratitude.
And it just turned the whole morning around.
Yep, gratitude is vital.
Excuse me.
Well, I was going to make a joke because being and I am I am joking when what I'm about to say. Like being a 70s and 80s rock guy myself, I'm like, maybe you just needed to turn off Aerosmith and go to a new group.
No, oh God, no, 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 not there, no. I love
I'm just messing with you. So where can folks find you and learn more about you? We'll always have that in the description, but I always like for the guest to tell us where they can be found.
Well, there's a couple of places. You can go over to my website at kimb.com, or you can come on over and hang out on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. And that's under Kim Boudreau Smith under LinkedIn.
Okay, easy enough. And anything exciting coming down the pike in 2026 that you can share with us, or is that still top secret?
Well, it's kind of not really top secret. I'm still pausing here for a moment because of all the losses that we've been through. I'm going to enter these holidays where no pressure on myself, watch a movie, maybe come into the office here and sit down and do a little bit of planning. I'm going to ease into it this year.
I like that. That's a wise strategy, especially on the heels of your year.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No, you're totally fine. Uh, this has been awesome. I want to thank you so much for being with us today. Any last words of encouragement you want to leave the viewers?
Yes. I'll share one of my favorite quotes by Oscar Wilde. Be you, be yourself, because everyone else is taken. And if you don't know what that is, then get yourself some help. There's so many amazing people out there that have been where you could possibly be right now. And just go forth, live life on your terms. That's big. One of my biggest thing with all the losses this year is I'm living. I'm living. If it's, I don't care if we're meeting for a bite to eat. I'm making myself go out in the winter time because normally I don't. It's I'm living and just do it on your terms.
Taking notes on that for myself. Do it on your terms. You know, you're reminding me, even though you haven't said it specifically, I'm thinking about things that you shared about mindset. I'm thinking about um, being you. No one that I know has gotten to where they want to go by doing it alone.
No, you can't.
There are no lone rangers.
No,
You
can't.
can't. You should do mindset work every day. But when you get, and I had a business coach that was heavy on mindset work. She would call it when you get in the Cheerio bowl, and we all do, you can't get out
No.
of the Cheerio bowl by yourself. You have to have a team. And I like to say, even though it's not my quote verbatim, you have to have a team around you that's encouraging you, that's cheering you on. You need a mentor, and they don't have to be miles ahead of you. They just have to be they have to be a little bit ahead of you.
Right.
You need somebody that's going to hold you accountable. And I want to say this about accountability. I think that word gets overused, even
Hmm.
though I do think it's important. But I'm talking about compassionate accountability. They love you. They want what's best for you. They're not going to let you make the excuses and not see that fulfilled, those dreams fulfilled in your life. So if you don't have what I'm describing as a healthy circle, then what you really have is a cage. And it's time to remold that and
Yeah.
and constantly be evaluating your circle. Not everybody comes into your circle forever. You'd be lucky if you get one person in that supported circle for the rest of your life. There's going to be people come and go, and that's okay. But I just want to encourage you guys with that, that nobody does it alone. And I love, Kim, how you're helping leaders and entrepreneurs in this space. I love that you're putting a heavy mindset as the priority of it because it all starts there.
It does.
And I just want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and your wit and your experiences with us today. It's been an honor having you for sure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
You're very, very welcome. Guys, I just get to remind you as we get ready to log off here in a second that your story is not over yet. If you woke up like Kim and I did, and you're watching this, and you look up like Kim did a few years ago, and you see the roof or the ceiling over your head, there's a reason. There's a reason. Don't delay on pursuing those dreams. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us. But today, while you still have air in your lungs, pursue your dreams with everything you got. You won't regret it, but you will regret not taking those chances. So I just want to encourage you. Your story's not over yet. I'm grateful for each one of you. It's amazing that we have over 5,000 people in our network now. That's because of you. That's because of each of you. And I'm grateful for each one of you. Guys, if I don't see you, but I think I will, I'll be on here a couple more times for Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas if you don't watch the next couple of interviews, but I hope you will. Merry Christmas. Be safe. Be at peace. I appreciate each one of you. God bless. Take care.